Hi, my name is Tia and I talk about things. And today I'm going to talk about the tradition of Zwarte Piet, Black Piet in the Netherlands. Before I give my opinion on this, there's a disclaimer. So I'm not Dutch, I'm German. So if you think that this disqualifies me from talking about this and from having an opinion about this, I would say click on the beautiful red X and be on merry way, because I have no interest in having any discussion with you or any interaction with you. If you think that I shouldn't have an opinion on this, then you don't have to listen to it, do you? So for everyone else, I want to first say that I understand both sides. So obviously I understand the people who are offended by this, and I will get into that later. But I also understand the people who love that tradition. So I do get these people that think it's just a fun, harmless thing that we do for the children. It's a lovely tradition. It's something that we experienced as children and we want to give it on. It's a lovely memory that we had, and we want to create that and we want to recreate that for our children. And it's very typically Dutch and we want to preserve that. So I really get that, I understand that. Really do get that. But there are several things about it that bother me. So for one, it seems like Dutch people themselves don't really understand where the tradition comes from. So they have basically two different origin stories of where Black Piet comes from. And the one is that Black Piet is not really a black person. It's just a person, a helper from Santa Claus, who is going through the chimney and he collects the soot, and that's what makes him black. And to those people I would say maybe you should consider cleaning your chimney, because apparently it comes equipped with bright red lipstick and gold earrings and a wig and for some reason a Surinamese accent. So this is where people start to separate into angry mobs trying to stop the highway and attacking a kindergarten for some reason. Because most people I talk to, most black people I talk to, they don't think that you should get rid of Black Piet. They just think, stop acting like a different race. Just like I read a survey once and it said most people agreed with the statement that we like the tradition, we enjoy it as well. Just bring it into the modern day. Don't dress up like a different race. Don't put the hoop earrings in. Don't put that wig on. Don't draw over your lips in a red color and color your face like really black. Just don't do that. Just modernize that tradition and we are perfectly fine with it. So, and then we get the second part of the people, where the people think that Black Piet comes from, and that is apparently that he is a helper of Santa Claus and he is inspired by Spanish Moors. The Spanish were controlled the Netherlands for a long time, so that's where the tradition comes from, they say. And then to that I would say, for a country who has a long history of slavery, portraying a black person as a helper of a white person, something maybe you should consider changing. And there's also a very long tradition of portraying him as a silly, funny, clumsy, mischievous kind of character for comic relief. And I'd say, please go and look into the stereotypes that were made about black people during slavery to defend slavery. So black people were portrayed as childlike, wild, uncivilized creatures, that they needed to be saved and they needed to be brought culture and knowledge and religion. So they had to be put to work so they can get rid of all that excess energy, all of that passion that they have. Otherwise they would go and rape the white women. So that is literally the reason and the reasoning behind slavery, the way that white people reasoned themselves into it. So they were going to those countries and bringing them as slaves to convert them into Christians and to give those savages purpose and civilization. So they saw themselves as in a role of a parent or a teacher. And this is why it's called the white man's burden. So that they were burdened into having to teach and colonize and culturalize these other people. Having the free labor, that was just a side effect. We don't really think about that. So with that background, it is quite tasteless to portray a black guy as the servant of a white guy. And on top of that, to make him such a cartoonish character. And if you look at like the language around it, if you look at like certain sayings that we have in Dutch, is for example, the Zwarte Piet doorspelen. Now I know that this is not 100% relating to Sinterklaas's helper. And I'm German, so we do have the same saying, den schwarzen Peter geben. They both literally mean to give the black Pete to someone, and figuratively they mean throwing someone under the bus, so giving them the blame. It relates to a card game. So, but what I want to draw your attention to is the difference in wording. In Germany we say Peter, which is a name. In the Netherlands they also have the name Peter or Peter, but they specifically say Piet, Black Piet, Zwarte Piet. This is not a conscious thing that some evil people came up with in the basement and they were like, "Ooh, ha, 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 how are we going to do this?" It's a subconscious collective way of thinking. So when someone says Black Pete, people are like, "Oh yeah, that fits good together, we are going to use this." It's not like an evil way of how we're going to debase them and we're going to put them down and everything. It's not like that. It's an unconscious, subconscious kind of thing. So while we're at the subject of Germany, I do want to use another comparison in this discussion. In Germany, we also have a helper of Santa Claus. In the south, that is baby Jesus. He brings the presents, and so he is a bit, because the south is more Catholic, so they did not want to have some character like Santa Claus, so they invented baby Jesus coming and giving the presents so that you love baby Jesus and you become more religious as a child. But in other parts of Germany, there is this darker helper of Santa Claus, who we call Krampus. I'm from the south, so I hadn't come across this, but I researched it later. And Krampus is a fantasy figure, and he is derived from the devil. So in older times, he used to also have horns and a tail, and then he evolved and developed into the figure that he is nowadays, which is a big man with very shaggy black long hair, and sometimes he has soot on his face, and he's like a scary figure who scares the children into obeying, and he punishes them if they do not obey their parents. And Santa Claus is the positive figure who brings the presents. So, and this devil-like creature with the horns, the tail, existed in the Netherlands as well. But the development in the Netherlands didn't go into the shaggy black-haired man, but it went into a white man putting on blackface. So it seems quite obvious what that is. The Netherlands has far greater connection with their colonized countries than Germany. And then I have one question, which is, the Netherlands, because of that connection with the colonized countries, has a big population of black people. So if you really wanted to portray Black Pete as a black person, as a Spanish Moor, you could ask a black person to dress up as Black Pete. So can't you find anyone who wants to dress up like in the Middle Ages? No black person wants to do that. And if not, then why not? This is the point where you admit that you always knew it was offensive. When I saw it for the first time, I thought, I'm in a wrong movie or something. Is this a joke? I was like, any moment people are going to tell me that this is just a very bad joke, like, right? But they were like serious about it. I was like shocked. What is this? So what should happen? What should be the next step? As I said, most black people don't really want to get rid of Black Pete because they are Dutch as well. So they grew up with it as well, and they love it, and they want to give it to their children. It's a lovable tradition, but at the same time, they don't want to be ridiculed, which I think everyone can understand. So they don't want to make this the basis of racist jokes. It's a really, really easy request. They just want you to make it harder for racists to use this tradition against black people. You should be angry at racists, not at black people for telling you that there's a problem. So imagine for a second that there's a black child, and that child is enjoying this tradition like everyone else, is excited and happy and loves it. And then some asshole makes a racist remark towards that kid and ruins it for that child. Is that child not Dutch? Do they not deserve to enjoy this? Imagine the same child growing up and learning about slavery and the justifications that white people told each other, and then seeing Black Pete reflected in that they were celebrating something that was derived from slavery. How would you feel? Would you feel betrayed? Would you feel conflicted? Would you want to give that on to your child? So the solution is really easy. Stop acting like a different race. You can be a Sooth Pete or a Rainbow Pete. The children don't care. They are still going to enjoy this tradition if you are green, blue, yellow, whatever. And the presents and everything, that's what it's about the whole tradition, about everything else. It's not for the children about, okay, Black Pete has to be black. If he's not black, I'm not enjoying this. Like, if you make him blue, like I heard about it, then in Curaçao they have that tradition that the Petes are all the rainbow colors. And when the children ask, okay, why are they green, why are they blue? They say, oh, they come through a rainbow, so they take the color of the rainbow. And it's just a lovely explanation, and the children are like, seems legit. So that's wonderful, why not do that? And this way, black people will be able to join in your lovable tradition. And I think in a few generations it will be forgotten that it was ever black, and it would just continue like a nice tradition should. So I don't see a problem why you shouldn't change it.